Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, come in, come in. So this is Tamika's Den. I am Tamika. Y'all get on in here, all right? I'm doing this review for Sisters, the Night Game, season 4, episode 4. Um, this wasn't a big episode, all right? It has certain little parts, but they was kind of irritating the hell out of me, to be quite honest. If I'm gonna keep it real. We started back with Sabrina and Calvin, basically with them in the restaurant, him still going off on the guy. He was getting his behind beat a little bit, little something something. And then he kind of got back on the guy. And then they separated them, and he's basically still saying to Sabrina, like, oh, you didn't stand up for me, you didn't see nothing wrong what he did, that whole thing. Sabrina's saying, you just embarrassed me, and now you want to say, come on, let's go. Like, no, why can't we stand here and talk about it? And then he's basically saying he don't want to stand there and talk about it. He don't even want to talk about it anymore at all, period. And she's basically like, he's like, oh, why you worried about staying here with him? And she's like, I don't know him. I'm saying? He's just somebody that was a customer one time. And he was like, well, you sure going hard for him. You ain't speak up for me. And she's like, you kidding me? And he's basically saying, no, he's not. He's dead ass serious. And so, she's like, Calvin, how can't you see, how you went over the top or whatever the case may be? And he was like, you don't understand. And she's telling him, make me understand. And he was like, no, 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 no. Like, I'm done with it. And so she was like, well, I wanted to talk to you about it in private, but now we basically, just out in the open in the middle of the restaurant. And so she tells him she doesn't want to leave with him, that she'll get a ride share. And he was like, are you serious? You doing this right now? He basically still saying, oh, do you know the guy? Or are you waiting for the guy to come back over to you or something like that? And then she's like, no, don't even play, and turn it that way. And she just, basically keeps asking him if he's serious. And he was like, yeah. And she was like, well, what kind of woman do you think I am? And he basically was telling her he don't know what kind of woman she is right now about this point, because he feels like that she just sat there and let him get insulted. And she's like, well, you're a man, right? You can handle it, right? And then he basically laughs and he's like, oh, I get it now. And she was like, what exactly do you get? And he basically was like, you wanted to see how I was going to handle myself. Like, now he's saying that it basically was a test because of the situation that happened with him and Jacoby. And then she's like, no, it wasn't that. And then, he's like, well, you know what? I think maybe you're right. Maybe you should go ahead and get the ride share. And to be honest, guys, like I said, just my honest opinion, I can't be anybody but me and say how I see something or how something makes me feel. I'm over the whole Sabrina and Calvin thing. To me, it's just been too many bumps in the road from the beginning that they both for some reason keep ignoring. It's always some type of issue or them testing his manhood in one way or another, whether it be the things that she feel is funny with him, which I mean really counts the most at the end of the day. The things her friends say they have issues with, especially Danny, some kind of way. She'll always be cracking some kind of jokes or throwing something some which way about him. Or it's, a situation like this and it's like, I don't know, it just doesn't make any sense to me anymore at this point. It's like, maybe y'all could be cool, maybe y'all can't even be that, but I don't see it working in a relationship type of setting for them to be serious with each other. I pretty much thought it was already going to be over that last time around. But then we still had them come back together and her be like, well, yeah, she is okay with stuff, or she's going to try to be okay with it and try to learn, to be comfortable with it. And if he could not, want certain things from her that he may like from other people, then they should be still good. And to me, that just still never made sense even before we got to this point with this situation. So I don't really know where they go from here, if it's anywhere for them to go from here. But that's where we at with them. Then we get Andy pulling up in the car and she's basically, her and Karen is getting back and, Karen basically is going to leave. But before she leaves from her, she's like, don't do it. I know you. And she's like, what? And basically still telling her not to call not to end up calling Gary. She was like, I know you. And she's like, oh, I'm not going to do it or whatever the case may be. But she's still looking like if this, singing cops won her over. And I'm just like, Andy, seriously? Like, just when I was starting to give you a little bit of credit, now you seeming like you about to go back down the Gary rabbit hole. But I guess we shall see as far as that goes. And so she was like, I'm gonna go ahead and see you later. And so first she was telling her that she was gonna walk her to her car, and she's like, nah, I'm good, I'm safe, I'm fine, go ahead. And she was like, that she would basically be good. So she goes to, leave, and she calls up Aaron. She's telling him she wants to tell him something. He's like, oh, can I come by your house? And she was like, no, I don't want you to come there. Can I come to you? And he's saying he's on a basketball court. And then, of course, he lets her know that Gary is there. She's like, oh, really? So she was like, well, I'm going to come there to you. Send me the address or whatever the case may be. Then we had El Fugo, because remember Danny had called him and told him to stop by. He comes over to her house, and, she's basically in a negligee. She's taking the robe off. She's like, take off all your clothes now, whatever. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. And he's taking everything off. Then the next thing she's staring at him, and, he like, what? And she's like, yeah, no, I don't think I could do this. Put your clothes back on. And he like, what? And she's like, yeah, hold on. And, I don't think I could do this. I don't think I want this. I don't think I want any of this. And he's just like, what? She's like, yeah, nah, no, I don't. Like, never mind. I don't want to do this. So he was like, you confusing the shit out of me. What Danny likes to do at this point. And so she was like, oh, well, you be naked in front of women every day. He was like, yeah, that's my job. I work at the club. And she's basically like, oh, and you don't like them? And he was like, no, I don't want them. You know what I'm saying? Not in that way. That's what I do for my job. And so she's like, yeah, no, I don't think I could do this. And he was like, well, what's wrong with this? What exactly is the problem? She's like, oh, well, I'm sorry I had you come all the way over here. I really am, or whatever the case may be. And so he's like, oh, it's the white boy. And she's like, no. He was like, it's me. She was like, yeah, it's just kind of this whole thing. Danny, I don't even know if you know what it is at this. She was like, a little bit, yeah. And so she was like, I'm just sitting here thinking about, like, what am I doing? She was like, I thought I could just do this and have fun and I could be that girl, but that's just not me. And so she was like, not tonight, I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to need you to go. So 1 minute he putting his clothes on. The next minute she telling him, oh, take it back off. Come back over here. This boy must have took his stuff off and on about 3 damn times. And I'm like, girl, Danny, like, seriously. But he was telling her he could make her feel better. She was like, well, I don't feel bad. He was like, well, I can make you feel even better than, you know what I'm saying, what you was already feeling. But make it better, okay? So then she basically pulls back the covers or whatever have you while he's standing there. And he was like, look, do you really want me to go or do you want me to stay? Okay? He's still standing there. So when she's pulling back the covers, he picks up his shirt. He's putting it back on again to leave. And then she basically gets in the bed and, he's like, I don't get you or whatever the case may be. And then she says to him again, like, me either. And she basically ends up taking the robe off and was like, but come here. So then he comes back over to her. And when he gets over there this time, she's saying she don't need no romantic stuff. She just likes to get into it because it's not that, I guess, situation with them or whatever. Or she don't want it to be that type of situation with them. So just get into it and that's that. Now, mind you, he took off his shirt, but he's basically on the bed with his damn pants on that he done been on out in the street with. So that's a no for me. But he's pulling the blanket up over them for them to go ahead and have sex. And he's like, like I said, she was like, yeah, she don't want the lovey-dovey stuff. And he was like, I remember. And she was like, oh, so what exactly you doing? And he was like, she was like, oh, I'm just making it clear. And all of a sudden, he started pumping like he in a damn rodeo. No pun intended, okay, to damn, my man. But she just like, oh, okay, oh boy, or whatever. I don't know. That was just like such a weird scene to me. I'm just like, okay, I'm rolling with it. So then we had, we had the guy that was, there at the restaurant come back over to Sabrina. He claimed he looking for his watch. She looking annoyed. She just like, oh, don't even bother. Then she goes down and picks up the watch and he's like, oh, you got it. And then he was like, oh, well, can I buy you a drink? Can I sit with you? She's pretty much saying no to everything. And then, he's like, well, yeah, I better not take a chance because your boyfriend might come back. And she's like, no, that wasn't my boyfriend. He was like, well, whoever he was. So then, she was like, I'm surprised they even let you back in here. And he lets her know that he owns it. That's why. And she's like, yeah, okay, you don't own this because, they have a couple of these throughout the country or whatever the case may be. And he was like, yeah, I own all of them, I'm assuming. And so she's like, oh, well, congratulations on your, success. And she's like, oh, why didn't you tell me? Why would he tell you when he's supposed to have just been a customer? But okay. And so, he's still basically trying to give her his card. First, he was trying to offer her a ride home. She's, like I said, saying no thank you to everything. He's like, Sabrina, just take it. He was like, like I said, saying he would pay for a ride or either he would take her home. And he was like, oh, he just left you here like that. And he was like, no, I can't let you do, a ride share. And she was like, it's okay. Like, I got it. And she was like, have a good night. And she put her coat on to leave. But I'm assuming we're going to be seeing more of him. That was the introduction into him. Then we have Andy sitting on the bed still talking about, should I call him? Should I not call him? Maybe I'll call him. I don't know if I'm going to call him. Yeah, I'm going to call him. Oh, God. Yeah, I'm going to say thank you for all of the gifts. No, I'm going to block him. I ain't going to do it. I'm going to block him, y'all. And so all of a sudden the phone starts buzzing. And when she answers it, it's Robin calling. Okay, he's calling from his little plane. And, he's saying, yeah, he was just, thinking about her, whatever the case may be. And he asking her what she doing. She like, oh, nothing, just was sitting here thinking about you. I'm like, Andy, girl, why you lying? And she asking him how's the flight or whatever. And, he's like, it's good. And he was like, if I'm being honest, it's several, she was like, it's several other women you could call. Why, you calling me? And he basically was like, oh, because I want to call you and you was on my mind and all of that good stuff. And so she was like, oh, that's so sweet, And basically, he, like I said, he said he was thinking about her. So she was like, well, what do you think about? He thinking about, oh, I'm thinking about how beautiful you are. I'm thinking about how much I enjoy kissing you. I'm thinking about that I don't feel any because she was like, don't, can you be more specific? And he was like, oh, I love the way I feel when we together and looking into your eyes or whatever the case may be. So she was like, oh, well, I feel the same way too. It feels so amazing. And I'm like, oh God, whatever, y'all. Like, they just basically being mushy with each other, whatever. And she telling him she just chilling at home and that she was thinking about him too. And I was just like, okay, y'all, whatever. Like, Andy, stop it. But she was like, oh, well, I probably shouldn't be talking to you like this because you probably, got a lot of people around you. And he was like, no, actually, it's just me, the pilots, and the students. She was like, oh, that's right, because you got your own jet, okay? You ain't on, like, commercial flights with everybody or whatever. So he was like, well, what do you want? Or what was you thinking about? And she's like, oh, I just wish you could be here kissing me and putting your hands all on me. And, they basically giving PG-13 phone sex. And at the same time, her phone started buzzing. I don't know who that was calling, but he basically was like, don't stop. And he was like, oh, she's a tease. And she was like, no, just a woman that's tired and needs to go to bed. And so he was like, oh, okay. He said, well, when will I see you again? And she basically was like, well, next time you stateside. He's like, so you're not gonna come? And she was like, no, not this time. She was like, but it's something to look forward to. So he's basically like, okay, I'm going to hold you to that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I agree. And he was like, well, she said, I'm going to say goodnight now. And he basically was like, well, yeah, you're going to go call him. So I'm like, wait a minute, huh? And she was like, what? We both saying it at the same time. And he was like, I heard the phone, Andy. So I guess he assumed that was Andy calling Gary calling just like I did. And he said, well, you don't belong to me, And she was like, no, you don't. No, I don't. And he was like, yeah, not yet. I was like, oh, okay. Talk your hot shit, Robin. Okay, it's the not yet for me. So then he was like, good night. And he let her go or whatever the case may be. So I guess that was a little cute. And then she was like, oh, I'm definitely not going to call Gary. So I guess it was saved by the bell for that because she decided against calling Gary. Then, we basically got to Miss Karen, getting to the basketball court and Aaron coming over to her and, he's like, you said you wanted to talk to me about something. She like, yeah, but not here. You know what I'm saying? We got to go somewhere and talk. And so, she's basically saying it wouldn't be good. He's saying good for who? She was like, she got so much confusion going on. She was like, good for any of us because, who knows what would happen. And he was like, he could be strong. And she talking about, no, I don't think you strong enough. And he like, yeah, I'm very strong. And all of that type of mess. And he just keeps being like, I can handle it. Why can't we go back to my place? He was like, I am strong. Okay, I'm coming. I'm going to follow you. And my question is, Aaron, where's your damn place? How come y'all can't never go to y'all place? Who the hell is at y'all place that y'all can't go there? Where do you stay? Okay? Inquiring minds want to know. And so then we have, Gary coming over being phony too. Talking about, hey, Karen, how you doing? And you look good, trying to make small talk. And she like, okay, boy, bye. Like, go ahead about your business. Like, hi, thank you. Okay, next. And after that, they end up seeing that freaking Zach is there. And that is mad awkward. And, they don't know each other. They was playing on opposite teams. But I'm assuming they going to all get to know each other after this. And, we also had Zach and Gary talk for a minute. And him say, I heard you work with, stocks, or about stocks, or whatever the case may be. Because he was like, yo, man, what's your name? And it's nice to meet you. They both introducing to each other, saying it was a good game. And, he's like, yeah, he's good and you good too. So he was like, so what do you do? And he was like, well, I'm a fund manager. This is what Gary tells him. So he was like, oh, for real? He was like, so you know about stocks and all that? He like, yeah. So he was like, well, I got a situation. Do you got a card or some shit like that? And Gary tells him, yeah, he could get the card from the car. And he was like, damn, that's your car? He was like, yeah. He was like, yo, that's nice. He was like, well, you ain't doing bad, too bad yourself. And Zach like, yeah, I'm hanging in there. I ain't on that level though, but I'm doing good. So he basically like, can I ask you some questions or whatever the case may be? I'd rather ask a brother. And Gary's basically telling him he gets it. That's no problem. That's why he here. And, they give a pound. So I'm like, I don't know where this is going. We shall see. Is this going to be a cute situation as far as him and Gary connecting, and maybe Gary having business advice that he could give to him, or is it going to be some shady shit? Okay, we shall see. Y'all let me know what y'all thinking about it. So then Zach and Fatima wake up in the bed together. She asking him how the basketball was. He like, it was cool. He enjoyed himself, or whatever the case may be. And she's like, oh, I told you about looking at me. And he was like, man, I love looking at you, or whatever. And she talking about, no, not in the morning. And, whatever the case may be. He like, no, I love it morning, noon, night, every little bit. Okay. And so then, when she's asking him how's the game, he was like, that was great or whatever. But he tells her that he needed to stop by this chick house. And then Fatima really gets mad and jealous quick, boy. I thought she was playing around at first, because she just basically was like, I trust you, I trust your word, and, I believe everything you tell me to until you give me a reason not to. And all of a sudden, as soon as he said that, she dead ass like went from her laying on her stomach to flipping on her back, staring up at the ceiling with the cold face. And she was like, stop. She was like, no, I'm serious. She was like, you better been where you said you was gonna be, or whatever the case may be. And she was like, I told you it's not no games when it comes to my heart. Like, you better not play with my heart. And she was like, I know that that's a damn lie. And I thought when she was saying that, because she was like, you didn't mention that. And he was like, I didn't. And he was like, oh. And when she said, and that's a lie, I figured like, she know he just trying to mess with her, or he up to something else, or whatever the case may be. And then she was like, omission is a problem for me. And that's when I seen that she was kind of getting serious about it. So I was like, oh, okay, Fatima. So of course, like I said, she's telling him, if you play with my heart, you're going to lose. Like, it's going to be a whole nother ball game. And he telling her, all right, just calm down, relax. That's when I realized she was serious. And at this point, she putting on her robe and stuff to go ahead and, get up, or whatever the case may be. And he was like, what's going on? He was like, you seriously mad at me? You being for real right now? She was like, yes. So when she went in the bathroom, he started counting down. And I'm like wondering, like, okay, what the hell is he counting down about, or whatever? And the next thing you know, when he got to 1 and they show her, she's looking up, and it's basically pictures all over the mirror and everywhere of her in different, ways that she was sleeping and how she looked, or whatever the case may be. So I was like, oh, okay, Zach, that was cute, And I have to say, it's just something when it comes to Fatima and Zach, that they just have such a different type of daggone chemistry out of all the couples and everybody that's up here. That just shines through for real. It's just like such a different type of connection that you see with them two. But it was cute, and he was telling her that was the girl that he stopped by, and he had got the camera from her, and you know, he learned how to use it, and he took all these different type of shots of her, and whatever the case may be. So like I said, real cute, real romantic for Zatima. Okay. Then we get Aaron and Karen in the bed together, which was definitely a completely different chemistry. And he's saying, see, we made it through the night. We ain't do nothing. And she was like, I thank you for that. And she was telling him, you know, that she's processing a lot, and, you know, she want to take her time, and she want to figure things out, which I think is smart. But my issue is, Karen, you know, why, like I said, even come back to your place in the first place? Then you're telling him, like, oh, I want to tell you something. But when he's like, you wanted to talk to me about something, it's like, no, never mind. I don't think I do. You know, I'm not ready to say nothing about it yet. And he's telling her about that he love her. And she like, you love me. She's like, oh, I don't think that that's fair. And she was like, all of this and this situation that I'm in. And basically talking around circles, but not saying what the situation she's in is. And so he was like, well, I'm still here. You know, I'm still here. I still care. And you're still here, and you know, like, basically I'm hanging with you. We'll figure this out. And so she's basically like, oh, you so sweet. How are you so sweet? You know, this doesn't seem real. I just kind of feel like I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm waiting for it to be an explosion. I'm waiting, you know, for you to be mad. And it's like, well, what do he really have to be mad about? Because you ain't telling him what the heck is going on to begin with. But nonetheless, she's like, thank you. And so he was like, all right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. I gotta go to work, and we could talk about this later when I get off. So then she's like, well, maybe, you know. And he's like, well, if you feel like it, it's up to you. And she was like, I promise I will tell you, but I'm just really still. And he was like, I know, processing, or whatever the case may be. And she was like, yeah. And so, honestly, I felt like this damn episode should have been confusion, because you had Andy being confused, not knowing whether she wanted to call Gary. You had Danny being confused with Fuego. And now you got Karen confused with Aaron. I think the only one that wasn't confused was Fatima, okay? And even Sabrina is confused with Calvin. So instead of the damn night game, it should have been confusion. But nonetheless, he says he's going to go ahead to work. As soon as he leaves, she ends up calling Andy, and she calls Andy at the same time that we're seeing the scene where Andy's basically coming out in the parking lot, and she's like, rubbing her hands, you know, across the car, looking at it like, shouldn't I? I might drive this one today. You know, I think it wouldn't hurt to take it for a spin. And then she's saying to herself, like, no, Andy, drive your car. Take your car that you bought, Andy. You know, take your car that you pay for, Andy. You know, saying it over and over to herself. And just as she's saying that and touching the car and trying to figure it out, you got Karen calling her saying, girl, don't do it. And she was like, what? How the hell? You know, are you watching me? Do you see me? How the hell you know? She was like, I'm not in it. And she was like, I know, but I know you. Okay, and I'm telling you, don't do it. You're going to regret it. That's going to be a big mistake, or whatever the case may be. Step away, okay? Step away from the car. So basically, she's like telling her how she saw all of them at the basketball court, and she's like, what? She was like, how the hell is that possible? They know each other. She was like, no, I don't think so. They just so happen to, you know, be there playing the game together, whatever. She was like, wow, that's interesting. So, of course, she wanted to know, you know, did anybody say anything about anything? Really, she wanted to know if Gary said anything. But she was like, man, Leah, he tried to come talking to me, but you already know how that goes. And she was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you shut him down. And then they both started, you know, laughing about that. Like, yeah, I did. And she was like, Aaron, you know, she got to speak to him for a minute, or whatever the case may be. And I don't think she said anything else, you know, in reference to Zach outside of that. She was like, I guess they all just play, you know, basketball. That's the only time that they could get together to do it, apparently. And Gary was playing with Zach too. So she was like, well, you know, Atlanta is a small place. And then she was like, yeah, that's true. And she was like, especially for straight men. So, you know, basically, like I said, she was trying to find out what was said, and then she could talk about who, and she was like, any of them, but you know who the hell she really wants to know about. So I was like, stop playing. So, you know, basically, as the next day, Zach calls up Gary. We see Gary has his office, okay, for once, and we find out that he is this, you know, trader, supposedly. We finally found out that he really does have a job, okay? He's not like Tommy from Martin. And the guy's asking him what stock he put in, and he was like, Zach rather is asking him, you know, about the fact that he made this $1 million off of the stock, and he don't know whether to sell. He was hearing some things, he don't know whether to keep some, sell it. If he sell it, wouldn't he lose a whole bunch of money? So Gary basically tells him that, Jake could find out more information about this to him. In fact, text him all his info, and he'll give it to him, and he would be able to help him and let him know and give him the rundown. He's basically saying, yo, you real lucky how you found out about this, and thank God Zach wasn't too stupid, because he didn't tell him everything of how, he got it. He said he just so happened to put it down, and like he said, he got lucky. So he was like, oh, okay, like, no, that's good for you. So he was like, man, thanks a lot, I appreciate this. And he tells him no problem. He was like, my man Jay got you. But Jay kind of favor hating a little bit to me. I'm like, well, they supposed to be related? I don't know. But nonetheless, the guy Jake is shaking his head and smiling, and then Gary is like, all right, what I'm saying, I'm gonna have you look out for him. And Jake was like, yeah, sure, thanks for the shout out on that. And so then we had Danny and Fugo wake up together. And of course, pretty much Danny is just like, boy, I need you to get up out of here. Now, her damn little wall thing she be having up is all knocked down. Stuff is all over. The bed look like it's moved from the wall. She like, how the bed got moved. He talking about, I was tearing that ass up. And she like, yeah, okay, well, yeah, time to go. You know what I mean? And then he's like, well, should I go out the window? She was like, now, why the hell would you go out the window? He was like, I don't know the way the hell you act. And she was like, I'm probably going to have noise complaints from my landlord or whatever have you. And she was like, all right, let's get it. And she's back to the whole, oh, you're used to this. Oh, you do this. Basically saying the same thing she was saying the last time he was there. And I was like, Danny, girl, what is the point? Like, she didn't even look like she enjoyed it. Shit, the whole point was for her to have a good time and feel even better. You would think she would be feeling stress-free. I was getting the vibe like she was even more damn stressed than before they started. So, I don't know if that one was worth it or not. But nonetheless, he was like, as far as him asking should he go out the window, he was like, because I don't know if white boy gonna end up at the damn door again. I'm like, oh, he got jokes too. So, he go ahead and leave. And as soon as he leave, you know how they are. As soon as anybody leave, they got to call up one of their girls. And, Danny basically ends up calling Sabrina. And so when Sabrina's like, what's going on with you? Danny actually doesn't tell her anything about, what happened on her end. She's basically just like, oh, nothing, girl. You know what I'm saying? Because Sabrina was like, I tried calling you last night. She like, yo, no, I know. I had went to sleep. Okay, and she doesn't even mention anything about El Fugo. Of course, she had to get up and look for the phone for a minute or whatever before she could call her. So then Sabrina's like, well, I got to tell you about this whole situation with me and Calvin because, he ends up getting into it. And, of course, Danny, typical Danny, she making jokes. When she first found out that he had ended up getting into a fight with a guy that came over to the table, she like, damn, for real? Oh, was it a Jabari situation? Did he twirl? And, she talking about did he break a nail and all those different type of jokes, which, like I said, I'm getting kind of tired of those too. And then, she's like, no, this is serious and I'm being for real is, in the morning. And she was like, well, more than likely, he was basically feeling like he needed to defend you and he was trying to step up and prove his manhood. So she talking about, oh, I didn't look at it in that way. Is that what you think? You sure? And you know how they do all of that different type of stuff. So, but then at the same time, she asked Danny for her advice. She knows how Danny be already and how she talks about stuff, especially when it comes to the Calvin situation. But she'll still ask her for advice, get mad at the advice that she's getting, and be like, oh, okay, well, I got to go to work, girl. I got to get out of here. But before she did hang up, Danny did get to tell her that, she has stopped this, the predator that was at the airport and that she did look like a hero when it came to that. And she tackled him down. And, Sabrina's basically like, what? For real? She's like, oh, wow, well, that really is something, Danny. Like, wow, that's crazy. And, that's amazing and all of that kind of stuff. And she was giving her props for that. And so she was like, yeah, maybe I'll get a promotion or something like that at my job. You never know, right? And so she's like, yeah, I don't think you can hold your breath on that one. But, maybe at least accommodation or something. So nonetheless, you know, at one point she even talks about that Calvin is scratching and surviving. I say, yo, Danny is a hot damn mess. But, you know, basically when Sabrina was like, I gotta go now, you know, I gotta go to work, you know, Danny was basically like, me too. And they go ahead and hang up. So then there's knocking at the door. And Danny is basically like, yo, did you forget something? You know, I told your behind to get out of here and make sure you have all your stuff. What are you coming back for? You know, she's looking and she puts her slippers on or whatever the case may be. And at the same time, she's like, who is this? Who is this? You know, who the hell is this at the door? I'm thinking, like, I know damn Preston ain't pop his ass back up here again. What is going on here? Girl, no. Danny opens up the damn door and then she's trying to hurry up and close it back. The person is basically like Danny and he's pushing to get the hell in. She come running to get towards the kitchen, I guess, to try to get, you know, a knife or something. And I'm like, yo, what the hell is this? Who is this woman, Harper? I mean, who is this man? Like, where the hell did he come from? How the hell did he know Danny? Where Danny lived? And I'm trying to figure out. I think that was the guy from the airport. Okay, let me know if I'm bugging out or not. So what is going on? Okay, and it looked like Danny gonna have to be fighting for her life. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, that just took a turn out of damn nowhere. And so I was like, yo, Danny, you black. I just was talking about this the other day with TV shows. You saying who is this, but you ain't hear nobody answer you damn back, okay? And you ain't even looked through the damn peephole. Stop opening up these damn doors without people letting you know who the hell it is at the damn door first, okay? I need y'all to say who and get an answer. And I need y'all to be like peekaboo and look through the damn hole on the damn door. That's what it's there for. But anyway, yeah. That was sisters. That's all I got. Put it in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know what the heck is happening here. We also did get Karen called telling Andy that she wanted to talk to her and the girls. I'm assuming she's probably gonna finally tell them, you know, that she's pregnant. Andy was asking, is she okay? She like, yeah, I just need to talk. I did forget that part and that just popped back in my head. But if I forgot anything else, put it in the comments. Let me know what you thought about the episode. Let me know like what y'all think gonna happen for next week episode. You know, did you like this one tonight or not, and all that good stuff. All right, put it all in the comments. Till next time, I'll talk to y'all later. Toodaloo. Like, share, comment, subscribe.